Anyway, this is a little Ficus Microcarpa. This was a arrow root that had just kind of taken a hold in the bucket of the bigger tree that I had it in. I'm going to show you some pictures here. This is the one in the middle there to start with. I had a bunch of them like that. I think it might be the only one that actually lived, although I think the one on the bottom of that picture might have lived too. And then this one doesn't have a really big history or anything. I'm going to show you some pictures just along the way of what it looked like along the way. By scale, you can see how, what size this is with my hand there and everything. But the biggest change I actually made is at one point, like I said, it was like an arrow root that had fallen into the bucket that the bigger tree was in, and had taken like a stump of its own or whatever, and that I had it laying, but it seemed to just be rotting on the backside instead of actually kind of taking root in there. So I actually wound up picking it up at one point and pointing it up a little more like this. One thing I see some people post pictures like this all the time. What's wrong with my ficus tree or whatever? I noticed that it starts happening here when it starts raining a lot. And I think the tree just starts giving up on leaves because it's getting plenty of new ones. And since it is kind of in that growth state and it's the right time of year and I've got the time to do it and everything, I'm going to go ahead and I don't ever defoliate. Well, I say ever, and then one day I'm going to do it. I don't really ever defoliate though, just to defoliate. I usually do it with a purpose, and the reason why I'm doing it today is just so I can see what's going on. I think a couple of these little branches have got to go. So my first idea to defoliate was just really to just kind of get a look at what I've got here. Now, I am not a proponent of just defoliating just to defoliate. If I was to decide to do nothing else today, I could leave it like this, and people think they're going to defoliate, make the leaves smaller. Well, if it's just still, I didn't disturb any of the ends there yet, and if it just keeps growing out of there, the leaves just could keep getting bigger and bigger. You really need to prune the tips off too. That's actually what stimulates the back budding and the smaller growth and stuff. I think I'm going to go ahead and wire it up. It's a little smaller than most trees when I wire it, but obviously, keeping it in a pot like this or whatever, I'm not looking for a big gargantuan tree here anyway. I did pull off 2 or 3 branches as I was going there. I mean, this could be considered the crown of the tree, but again, it's one that's growing straight up. Plus, it had 2 branches coming off of both sides of it. If that's going to stay, that's going to turn out being somewhat of a bar branch. So I think, actually I'd like to go ahead and make sure it stays off. So I'm going to cut that one a little bit closer. I'm going to cut the end of that. Because you had like a left, a right, and then you got another left. And if I'd have left that piece there, that would have wound up being right on the same level as that one. And, I mean, these 2 here, I'm definitely going to get some wire on. This guy out here I'm going to get some wire on. This one I'll probably use for an anchor. Yeah, I could wire it a little bit too. But I did leave all those growing tips. I did leave them just in case I decided I wasn't going to wire it. I was going to leave them, and if I wasn't going to wire it, and then just like I was going to let it elongate some, and actually it would have elongated really quick because I left the tips, and that would just they just grow longer quicker. But I've decided I'm going to go ahead and wire, so not going to cut them back far. And this is how you get smaller leaves and back budding. I'm going to go ahead. That's the only one I'm going to cut back any distance, just because it was on a little spindly branch, and the branch it was attached to wasn't really all that thick. I'm going to try to avoid the time lapse, as there really only are like 3 branches, although I'll probably have to wire, well, at least 1, 2, maybe 3 pairs of things just to get things wired together. But I think I'm going to wire this bigger one and the main branch here together. Probably going to have to wire that up just a little bit, even though as a ficus that's what it wants to do. I'll try to get some movement along the way. And then, because I want to get some wire on this one, I'll probably wire that up to maybe this longer one here, and then maybe put these two together, although that one will be there. Just have to kind of figure it out as I go here. I think that's all I'm going to get is the main branches. That'll just be the two wires. I have this one, and then I'm going to use this one for an anchor again to get this one wired up. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to plan on coming down and around on this one, and then since I'm just using this other branch here for an anchor, I'm just going to join the wire where it was on that branch. And I was going to put it on that smaller branch there, but that's barely even enough for an anchor, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it out here to the end. And then that. And not exceptionally proud of the wiring job there, especially where the double wires are there, but I think it'll accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And this was just kind of growing out, and so I want to put a little movement in it. And get it to where it can just be a little more of the apex to this tree instead of going way out there. And then this one, kind of bringing down some. And this one, I'll go down and just a little bit up. And again, not the prettiest thing in the world, but it doesn't have those just perfectly straight lines like it did. And I left it a little loose on there, so it'll give it some room to grow.